planetary princesses, and you have landed on our planet. A spell has been cast, and now you are one of us.
Hello and welcome to Planetary Princesses, your royal invitation to the cosmos. I'm Kate.
And I'm Ashlee.
And today we will be welcoming you into our galaxy. We'll be sharing how Planetary Princesses began and telling you about our astrology journeys.
Yes, and we're going to be talking about our sun, moon, and risings. And we're going to talk about why that's the first thing that people ask you about, like why it's so important and why someone is trying to get to know you on an astrology level. So we're going to cover what the sun, moon, and rising represents. And we're also going to give you a few tips on how to pull up your own chart and find out your sun, moon, and rising.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. Let's get started.
Yes, let's get started. And maybe we should tell our listeners and viewers how we met and became friends.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we met in the Mystic Michaela Know Your Aura Facebook podcast group. So, Know Your Aura is a podcast by Mystic Michaela. And in the Facebook group, we both learned that we share an aura color. We're both pink auras. And yes. And so once we found that out, we got into a group chat of pink auras. And in the group chat, so fun in there. And anytime anyone would bring up astrology, Ashlee, it was you and me. We were both putting in our hot takes on the situation.
We're pulling up charts, looking at people's transits, talking about why someone might be having a little bit of a moodier day or a tougher day, or why someone's feeling so excited and happy today. You can tell by looking up transits. So me and Kate loved just pulling it up and explaining to everyone in a uplifting way on how to help people based on their astrology charts.
Yes. And so after a while, we said to each other, wait, should we start a podcast? And that is how Planetary Princesses was born. So we have just really enjoyed putting this project together. And our philosophy for Planetary Princesses is really taking the fear out of astrology, making it fun, sharing the beauty of it, and how it can help you rather than making you scared.
There's so much fear mongering online for clickbait, and we want to be the opposite of that.
Yes, because astrology is a tool for personal growth. And when you go on TikTok, Instagram, there's so many astrologers, so many videos you can watch to learn about astrology, but oftentimes it can be a little kind of on the scary side just to get your attention. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And whenever I see a video on TikTok where a creator's like, okay, Capricorns, Libras, Aries, and Cancers, this video is for you. For the next week, you're going to feel very, very upset. You might feel depressed, think hardships are going to come, but don't worry, in 2 weeks, you'll feel all better. And I honestly don't think this video is for anybody other than the creator. It's for clicks and views. It's fear mongering. So we want to kind of give you the tools to be able to look at your own chart and think, okay, everything is going to be just fine. This is what I got to look for, and how you can use astrology to really work for you, like an energetic forecast. You wouldn't want to go outside when it's raining without your raincoat. So when we're looking at the astrology charts, we're really looking at what's the energy going to look like for you in a way to make it work for you, no matter what the transit is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of us, spreading misinformation, we want to use astrology to make you learn about all the different facets of your personality, because there's no placement in your chart that just means doom and gloom. You might see content like that online, but that is, like we're saying, kind of just clickbait. There's a positive and negative side to every planetary placement aspect. And so we just really want to bring the vibe up and show you that astrology can be this amazing tool for you to use, like Ashlee's saying.
Yeah, and speaking about the fear mongering, I have a little personal story I want to share about how it affected me. So, this is many years ago when I just had my first daughter, and I was kind of like in the postpartum period where you're not feeling your best. Everything feels like really dense and heavy. I'm scrolling on TikTok, and there's a curator that's like, okay, we're going to talk about what it means to have Saturn in every one of your houses. And they went around the chart saying, okay, if you have Saturn in the first house, you might feel limited about your identity or whatever. And they were going through each house. When they got to Saturn in the fourth house, it said, if you have Saturn in the fourth house, your childhood will be really, really bad. It's going to be hard. And I looked at my daughter's chart, who was just born, and she had Saturn in the fourth house. That put me in like this spiral. You don't even have to be postpartum to feel spiral from hearing that your kid might have a terrible childhood based on astrology. So I spent many nights on Reddit basically crying, DMing any astrologer that like seemed creditable, asking them what's going on. And finally I connected with someone, an astrologer, who's like, okay, that's definitely fear mongering. And Saturn in the fourth house can mean so many things. It can mean that you're always trying to motivate your child to do better, or you're getting your child to go to school, you're getting them ready, you're getting them to go up when they might not want to go. So it can mean a whole bunch of things. It doesn't mean that your whole childhood is screwed. And then I was thinking, okay, my daughter does love to run around and hang out with other families and maybe sit with people when it might not be at the best of times. So I'm always around helping her, guiding her when is the best place for you to approach other people. And that's how I'm interpreting Saturn in her fourth house. It definitely does not mean a bad childhood. So, what me and Kate want to do is give a bigger, more faceted view of what certain things mean and help you make the connections on your own to be not fall into the fear mongering that goes on online.
Oh, that's such a powerful story because, like you're saying, you can read one thing, hear one piece of information that's so dark, and there's always a constructive, positive way to look at it. So that makes so much sense. And I'm so excited for us to do this for other people and hopefully make people see the positive in a lot of their placements in their chart. And everyone also has every sign in their chart. So by learning about, you might be a certain sun, moon, or rising sign, but by learning about all of the different archetypes of the zodiac, you can really start to understand the depth of your life experience, and it can help really guide you through cycles. And over the course of your daughter's life, you're going to be able to see that placement evolve and change in different ways you work with it. And so that's part of what we want to do on this podcast is sharing information so that we can give you the power back and do things that really serve your personal growth.
Yeah, Kate, I love that you brought up that we all have 12 signs within us. We're all programmed differently, and some of us might use more sign than another energetically because that's how you're set up. So let's say there's someone that's a Virgo sun, a Virgo moon, a Virgo rising, and then everything else they have is in Cancer. Well, they still have all the 12 signs within us, and a good astrologer will sit down with them and let them know when certain parts of their life is activated. So let's say this Virgo who's always looking at all the details and they're a little more serious and they can see such a detailed picture, but they're going to a party and they need to be a little more social and they need to work the room. They actually do have it in them. I would say you could probably tap into your Gemini side for that part, which Kate has a Gemini Mars, which I love so much. Um, you can go to this party and figure out where you normally use Gemini in your chart and channel other parts of yourselves to make it work for you. It's not fake, it's within you. And you can use astrology as a tool to figure out what's the best way to use what energy within me to make the day more productive for yourself.
Oh my gosh, yes. And something that you have said is astrology is a lifelong rabbit hole. It's like you could go as deep as you want with astrology. And so with our podcast, we hope to talk about topics that'll help you learn and really accentuate certain parts of yourself. And I am so excited, Ashlee.
Yes, I'm excited too. And our goal in astrology is to help people feel seen. We're so much more than our sun sign. You might not even relate to your sun sign at all. Even when you go through the moon and the rising in the mix, like the sun, moon, and rising, there's still so much more involved in that And we're hoping to help you see that and to really make you feel seen and understand why you are the way you are and to feel very valid in all of your experiences in life.
Oh, it's good. It's a beautiful journey. And now that we have welcomed everyone into our galaxy here at Planetary Princesses, do we want to talk about our individual astrology journeys?
Yeah, let's talk about how we grew to love astrology and talk a little bit about ourselves, maybe, and our reading styles.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm Kate. I'm an astrologer and artist, and I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. And I grew up in a religious environment. So I wasn't exposed to astrology at all growing up. And, the most astrology that I was exposed to was a limited to Sagittarius picture frame that I had. And I wish I still had it. I should really go on eBay and try to find it.
Or you can
Um,
make one.
oh, I should. I should make one. I could bedazzle it. And so I would get confused when I read horoscopes in magazines like Teen Beat and Cosmopolitan because I was born on the first day of Sagittarius season. And so every year that date shifts slightly by, a day or two. And so sometimes I would get confused reading those horoscopes because I thought maybe I was a Scorpio because that would be the date that they would say. And so I really didn't know anything about astrology for a long time until 2017. I was introduced to astrology as an actual study by my mother in law, Jane. And I was talking to her about how I had decided to sell my house and move from outside the Phoenix area back into the city. And she told me, well, your Saturn return just started this week. And so that makes complete sense that you're
Oh, yeah.
making this change. And I said, what? Like, what does that mean? And so from there, I got really curious about astrology as a study. And it, sparked my curiosity and got me started on my journey. And then I started listening to the podcast Cosmic Cousins by astrologer Jeff Hinshaw. And I began learning all about astrology from him. He also works with tarot with astrology. So I started learning about both astrology and tarot at the same time. Then I started following Heidi Rose Robbins and reading her daily moon notes, which I love. I read them every morning. They're on her Instagram. And I've been doing that since 2018. And then I also started following this amazing astrologer. Her name's Clementine. Her page is Big Empress Energy. And she also works with tarot and astrology together. So I just tried to soak up all those astrologers' research and knowledge. That's the beauty of astrology is it's a constant learning process, And so I used those podcasts and those astrologers to help me through my Saturn return and the transits that followed. And it's just been such a wonderful support and guide for me as I've gone through difficult life events and beautiful life events. And so I'm just really grateful that I found astrology that way. And then when I interpret birth charts, I use the Placidus system, which is the most common way to look at charts. When you go to a website to pull up your chart, it'll usually default to the Placidus system. And this divides your chart into 12 sections called houses. And the first house begins at the exact degree of your rising sign. And what's interesting for me is when I started learning astrology, my rising sign is 0 degrees Aries. And so my chart is set up very natural. It just makes complete sense as a cycle because it starts at the very beginning of Aries season. So I kind of got a little cheat sheet guide with my own chart. And
I'm so jealous.
it was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. And when I would have other astrologers read my chart, they were like, wow, that's lucky that you got to learn it that way.
That's what drew me to you, like, so quickly in the first place. When you showed me your chart, I was like, oh my God, she's a 0 degrees Aries rising. I've never heard of that before. Well, Ice Spice has it, I believe, but
Yeah.
you do too. And that just like made me want to be your friend. I'm like, I need to meet this woman who's aligned with the earth.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I do love That's one of my favorite placements in my chart. And so after I looked at my own chart, I started reading charts of reality TV stars and celebrities because, anytime I was watching a show, I'm like, what is their sun? What is their moon? What is their rising? And what's their Mercury? Why are they communicating this way? And so Love Island really helped expand my depth of learning astrology. And I would also read charts of my family members and friends to understand our dynamics separately and together. And, I also love how tarot connects to astrology. And that's a part of my practice that I really want to continue to grow. And I started offering readings last year, and that has been so much fun. I love helping people understand who they are, how they communicate, what they value, how they move through the world, and what they're going through by looking at their chart and demystifying that for them. And I also really enjoy working with the asteroid Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and that's been a very powerful asteroid that I've worked with in my own healing journey. So I love offering that insight to anyone whose chart that I read. And also, I was introduced by my mother in law, Jane, to the world of asteroids in general. There are over 25,000 asteroids that are named. And when you look into those, they can really add depth to a chart. And how I got really excited about it is asteroid Kate and asteroid Reed, which is my husband's name. They're really prominent in both of our charts. And so once I learned that, I just was like, well, what else could be out there for asteroids? And so I love doing asteroid readings for people, getting to know their loved ones, the places they've lived, hobbies and interests in their life, and looking up asteroids in their charts.
That's so cool. And I love how you said that you and Reed are so prominent in your chart. It almost explains like when you meet somebody in real life and you feel like you've known them and you're so attracted to them and you have to go on a date with them, there's a really good chance that their name is a prominent asteroid in your chart. And Kate's a
Exactly.
real life example.
Yes. It was so fun to find that out, and I love blowing people's minds when I do readings for them and they see that their asteroid name is right in their rising sign house or conjunct another planet, and it's very fun. So that is my astrology journey.
Love it. I also feel like when you say your asteroids are prominent in your chart, it almost demonstrates in real life the difference between fate and free will. When you met Reed, his energy is very connected to yours through astrology and the solar system. So when you saw him, you probably felt a strong attraction. I need to date this man. And free will, you still have the decision. You could have been like, I don't know, maybe I'll date more. But you made the decision. I am in love with this man. I'm going to marry him. And astrology will tell you what's meant to be your fate, but you still have the free will to make your own decisions and move on the way you want.
That's such a great point. Free will really is a huge part of astrology as well, fate versus free will. So, oh, I love that you brought that up. That's so true. But
Totally.
now, but now I want to hear about your astrology journey. So, Ashlee, tell us how you got into astrology.
Okay, so like you, I grew up in a religious household, Judaism. So there's no astrology or none of that spirituality. It was all about like the Torah and getting bat mitzvah and learning Hebrew. So there was absolutely no exposure to astrology for me. And to be honest, I thought it was kind of like stupid in a way, as a child, because I had my birthday with a bunch of kids in my class, like in class in school. Like Dennis was born the day after me. Caroline, this girl, was born 2 weeks after me. And what I didn't understand is, okay, so we're all Sagittariuses, but how come they're having such a great day and mine is like really tough? I went home crying, but they like passed the spelling test. So what I didn't understand is the paper would say one thing, but the three of us were all experiencing something different. So I kind of wrote astrology off as like, oh, just something to write in the newspaper. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. And then there's this picture of all the planets in space. And Kate, we have to put this picture up in the video. but
Okay.
it's this picture of like the sun, and then there's Mercury next to it, and Venus and Earth, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. Like Jupiter is like huge, and it's all lined up, and I was totally freaked out. I'm like, this is the scariest thing ever. So I understand why a lot of people think that astrology is scary. When I started getting into it, some of my friends and family were like, "Oh, I don't want a reading. That's like kind of freaky. I'm good, thank you." And I totally understand because that picture alone triggered a lot, and knowing what was in the newspaper wasn't always accurate for me. So I can totally understand why that is. But when I moved to California in 2017, I think, around the same time you started looking into astrology. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that was like a special year for us. I
Yes.
started like looking into it more when I realized that your sun sign was just like one tiny little dot in this huge facet of who we are. Um, so I look at astrology as like a system where we look at the movements of all the celestial bodies, the moon, all the planets, the asteroids, the comets, and how they correlate with what's going on here in our lives. It's kind of like that ancient saying, as above, so below. We hear that sometimes in esoteric or even pop culture. What's going on in the heavens is also going on the earth. So I started chilling out a little bit when I realized that Jupiter and Saturn, they're not causing things to happen in our life. They're just almost like a thing of measurement, almost like a barometer, thermometer. When it's hot, like the mercury level goes up to measure the temperature. When things are going really, really big for you, everything's big and expansive, that probably Jupiter's measuring that. It's not, there's not like an alien on Jupiter saying, oh, we're going to make things boom for them. It's just like a measurement tool. So that kind of like chilled me out a little bit. So astrology's been around for like a really long time, like before Christianity. It was from like the third millennium of BCE. It was in the Hellenistic period of 7th century CE. So there's like thousands and thousands of years of data that explains the patterns that go on of the planetary positions and the tones and the themes that are unfolding upon us. Like I said, I used to think it was weird when I saw it in the papers in the 80s or 90s. But what really got me to start liking astrology was when I realized that we have a moon. What? My moon's in Libra? What the heck does that mean? My mom's a Libra. Like, are we actually alike? What's going on? So I went on YouTube and I Googled like astrology 101. This was years ago. And I started following this creator. Shout out to True Brilliance. I don't know her real name. She goes by like a pseudonym, but she is not even an astrologer. She's an alchemist. And she would do these lectures on YouTube, and I was fascinated. She would blow my mind. So I Googled astrology books because I needed to learn more about this. And I found like this really thorough book called Hellenistic Astrology by Chris Brennan. Read the book. He has a podcast called The Astrology Podcast, where it's so thorough. Like one episode of his podcast literally feels like a college lecture. And these episodes can be like 2 to 3 hours long. They're not heavy, where it's like my mind like is hurting, like what's going on, because he goes very slow. He almost starts talking to beginners, so I felt like I could really follow along. But I've listened to so many of his episodes that if each one is a college lecture, then I'm definitely like approaching my master's degree. No offense to people who have their master's degree. I don't actually have one, but yeah. So from there, I started listening to other podcasts. Like there's one called, they don't make new episodes anymore, but it was so cute and sweet. It was called Astrology and You. And there was another one called What's Your Sign, where it was three comedians and they would get together and chit chat and then talk about astrology and teach you some things. And then I was starting to get a little more comfortable with it. And I started reading some friend charts. I'm in a few different group chats. Not the group chat that I'm in with Kate, but a different group chat. I started like reading every single person, and I was like really, really getting into it. So I'm like, this is so awesome. And that is when I became a Reddit astrologer, where I would be on all like the Reddit, I still am actually, where I go on all like the Reddit astrology subs. There is an endless amount of people who post their charts on Reddit. You could do it too, with very specific questions like, tell me why I feel like a loner, or tell me why my wife just left me or something like that. And a ton of astrologers would go on there and give feedback. And I still do it to this day because I feel like it's my way of giving back. Like, yeah, I charge for readings because it's a thorough energetic exchange. But I feel like when I give out free readings on Reddit, that I can help people also and like use my teachings to like help humanity in a way. Like, even if it's to help brighten someone's day or to give someone clarity, I do that. And then I started getting like all these DMs like, hey, here's my chart. Can you read my chart? Or having questions. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to really start making this into a thing. So that's when I created an Etsy shop. And now I am officially an Etsy astrologer. You have the Etsy witches, but I like to call myself an Etsy astrologer.
Oh,
Um,
love that. That is so,
yeah,
I love that you also give back in addition to offering your own readings as an energetic exchange, because that's so beautiful to be able to offer that information to people who are really going through a tough time in the moment.
yeah, and it's something that anyone could do. Like if you're on Reddit, you can there's like astrology talk, astrology chart share. There's a whole bunch of like subs on Reddit where you can go in and have like good conversations, and it's really helped me a lot. As for my reading style, I started doing my readings. Kate does hers in Placidus. I started doing mine in whole sign because I am, I guess you would say, a traditional astrologer where I follow the rules that came about in the Hellenistic times a long time ago. And the reason why I read charts that way is that's how I learned it. Chris Brennan, I call him my mentor, even though he doesn't know me. He's my mentor. But as I've been reading more and more, this is a very recent thing. I converted back to Placidus. Like, Kate, you are
Wow.
onto something because what I love about Placidus, while I think cosine is accurate, where each sign can be an entire house, with Placidus, it explains how people change like very, very deeply. And I'll give you an example. I'm a Libra rising, but a very late degree Libra rising. So upon my first impression, I give the Libra vibe, but maybe like once I'm comfortable, very quickly, I turn into a Scorpio. Now, if someone is a very early degree Libra rising, like my daughter, she stays in that sweet Libra energy a lot longer than I do. And you wouldn't be able to give that information from a whole sign reading. So
Mm.
that's when I started following Kate and doing Placidus too. Now I still use whole signs when I'm doing like timing techniques. What I do offer during my consultations and readings is letting you know like when things are going to happen. There's like
Mhm.
this ancient technique called zodiac releasing where you can like
Mhm.
run it and find out like when someone's love life is going to go through a complete change or when someone's career is going to go boom. So for that I use whole sign, but other than that, I do use Placidus now. I'm a degree theory lover. I love degrees. Every single degree in someone's chart carries a very specific meaning. So there's 30 different expressions of Aries, 30 different expressions of Taurus, and there's a symbol that goes with each degree. This is like a newer thing developed like probably like right before I was born, or maybe even like 100 years ago, but I am almost 100 years old. Just kidding.
Oh, come on. Don't share all of our secrets that we're ancient
Okay,
witches.
yeah, I have
We're
really good skincare. um, but they give an image for each degree. Like for example, Kate as a 0 degrees Aries rising, her whole like look and appearance is like a woman being born from the sea and like a cute little animal coming up to her, ready to guide her. And it just
Oh,
shows her innocence, her baby face, her always like willing to have fun. It always feels like a party around her because she brings that beauty and joy with her like everywhere she goes. So I look into the symbolism of every placement and I almost use it like a tarot deck. So instead
mm.
of like the 72 card tarot deck, I use it like a 360 deck where I'm pulling the card based on the placement and the degree is on. And you could tell like a scary, accurate story from that. So that's something
Wow.
that I do. I love asteroids. I don't go as deeply into them as Kate does, but I love the stories of the psychology it brings to you, like how it's implanted into your consciousness. I also love looking at relationships between people, like their synastry whether it's romantic, platonic, families, moms and babies. So much fun. And I also do now energy reads of the day, where
Mm.
if you're having like an event, let's say you're going to this dinner and you're like, what's going on this dinner? What can I expect? I could tell you, like, if you think it's going to be more friend oriented, if it's going to be more business, if you might meet someone sexy, or whether to just avoid romance altogether. I could tell you that too. So, yeah.
How fun. I love your approach to astrology, and I love how you have a master's degree from the Chris Brennan Astrology podcast, because you are not kidding. Those are such helpful, in-depth episodes, and like you're saying, he teaches it with whole sign, so it makes sense that you use that as your basic technique, but then you've also evolved and you're doing Placidus too, so that makes so much sense. And I just love your approach to astrology. That's why we wanted to do this podcast together, because anytime people would ask us about astrology in our group chats, we both would have unique perspectives on things, and that's the beauty of astrology, is that you can learn so much. There's so much you can bring to it, and degree theory especially. How fun. That is such a fun way to look at someone's chart.
Yeah, it was a little scary at first because I thought it was too complicated. But when you break it down and do it over time, it starts kind of clicking in a way, which I like to help people understand a little bit better if they're interested in that.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, that was amazing getting to hear more about your journey. And now that we have told our stories a little bit, how about we talk about our individual sun, moon, and rising, and also share with people what that means for them and why it's the thing that everybody always talks about as soon as you bring up astrology in a conversation. What's your sun, moon, rising?
Totally. So maybe we should go over what the sun, moon, and rising is, maybe give some analogies to
I
help
love
people
that.
really understand it.
Let's do it. Let's go for it.
So sometimes, like, I think of someone's sun as them when they're like in a good mood, because the sun represents the brightest parts of you. Like the
Mhm.
sun like lights up the world. What about you lights up the world the most? So I like to think of the sun as that. I think of the moon sign as more personal to you. Like people might not know that about you unless like they're really close with you, like they're one of your best friends or partner or whatever. So I think of like the moon as like your deep down goals and what makes you happy. And I think of the rising sign of what you look like, but it's also the energy of like what you might go into when you're like being really, really polite. Like if you're a Taurus rising, politeness to you might be like when you're just chilling, you're relaxed, you're creating a calm environment for everyone. You have some sweets, you have snacks, like that's polite. But if
Mhm.
you're looking at a Virgo rising, they might be like way more quiet, observant. They're polite by not saying everything all at once. They're just kind of like observing. But at the same time, if someone says, I need help, that Virgo rising will run over.
I love the analogies for this. And an analogy that you shared with me was the house analogy for sun, moon, and rising, which I think is really cool as well. So, with the house analogy, it's like your rising sign is the way your house looks like on the outside, the exterior. Your sun sign is the way your house looks on the inside. So when someone walks in, what is the core of the house? What does the decor look like? What's the vibe? Is it cottage core? Is it Paris modern? Like, what is the vibe? And then your moon sign is like the way your bedroom looks, and it's what that intimate part of you that you might not take everybody on the house tour to your bedroom.
Well, some
but
people might.
but
No,
well,
I'm
some people
kidding.
might, but it depends. Probably if you're a Leo rising, you probably would. And then but the moon really is like that intimate part of you that like your best, like you're saying, your best friends see, more on a deeper level than the exterior of the house, the rising, and the decor of the inside, the sun.
I love that. And like the color of the carpets and like the food that's there. It's all the
Mm-hmm.
sun that would describe that. Um, oh, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about coffee. This is actually water, but we're going to pretend that it's coffee. So the rising, the rising of this coffee cup, maybe Aquarius,
Hmm.
maybe a little Leo. It's definitely fixed because you're looking at it, so it's like a fixed sign. But your
Yes.
rising would be the design of the cup, the color of the cup. Look at the polka dots. Let's look. Well, there's no steam here, but let's pretend there's steam coming out. That would be part of the
Hmm.
rising
Hmm.
sign. Even the shade of the coffee, like, is there a lot of milk in it? Is it light? Is it dark? Or is it black? Like, what kind of coffee is that?
Hmm.
The sun of this mug of coffee would be the actual coffee itself. Like, is this Starbucks? Is it Pete's? Is it Dunkin' Donuts? Is it Folgers in your cup? Is it strong? Is it bold? What's the flavor? Is it French vanilla? Is it hazelnut? That is all the sun. And even the taste. Like, does it taste like a freshly brewed cup? Does it taste like it's been kind of sitting out for a while, a little ancient? That's the sun. And then the moon, you're not going to know from the actual, like, cup itself. The moon is very private. So it's the warmth of the cup when you're touching it. It's the
Mm.
comfort you get when you drink it, or it's the buzz that the coffee gives you through the day. How are they reacting to the coffee? It's like very personal to the person drinking it. While the sun is like the whole composure of it, and the rising is this cute little cup and this lack of steam coming from it.
Oh, I love that so much. Such a good analogy. And then the last analogy we have that Ashlee, I absolutely love this. She brought this to the table and I love this analogy. It's the makeup analogy. And so the makeup analogy, it's where your rising sign is like the compact itself. I have a compact here. What does the
Ooh, it says
compact
Kate. Does it say
look
Kate?
like? Yes, it says Kate. Yes. And so this is the rising sign. What are
So
the color?
Aries.
What are the colors? I know I had to got it right there. It's the colors, it's how it's arranged, how it's presented, because your rising sign is your outward appearance, it's your vibe, it's your personal style, it's the first thing people notice when they see you, just like your compact sitting on your vanity. And it gives a preview of what's inside and it reflects your aesthetic and it sets the tone of how others perceive you before they get to know the real you. And the sun sign in the makeup analogy is the formula. So, like, what are the core ingredients and the intent behind the product? Because your sun is the essence of who you are. It's your values. It's your inner light. It's your purpose. And so, the formula of the makeup, it determines whether something is matte or dewy or bold or soft, and it just reflects the core identity of the product and how you're wired to shine. And then the moon sign in the makeup analogy is how the makeup wears on your skin, how it feels throughout the day, how it enhances your aura, your pink aura. The emotional experience. How do you feel when you wear it? Because your moon sign is how you process feelings and how safe and nurtured you feel and what makes you feel comfortable. And so just like makeup interacts differently on every person based on their skin chemistry and their mood, your moon sign reflects your inner world and your emotional truth. And Ashlee, when I read this analogy from you, it blew my mind because that, I think, of all of them, that is my favorite analogy.
Aw. I had to incorporate makeup into it somehow because my past life was formulating makeup. And
Yes.
I always feel like the marketing teams would figure out the color palettes or the shades. Like, do we want this to be neutral? Do we want this to be super colorful? Or do we want sparkle, glitter? But then my job as a chemist would be the sun part. So I would be figuring out the powders that go into it, the binders that go into it, the silica that goes into it, like all that good stuff, sourcing it. And then the moon would be, I guess, the customer putting it on, like, ooh,
Hmm.
this feels good. I feel really pretty. I'm going to go out with like a dewy look. Like, I feel glamorous. And that's the moon because the makeup itself, I mean, it might claim to, but you're not really going to know unless you put it on.
Yes. Oh, that is such a wonderful analogy. I love that so much. And so now that we talked about what your sun, moon, and rising means in your chart, just want to quickly share with you all how to pull up your chart and find out what your sun, moon, and rising is. So how you would do that is you go to an astrology website. I personally really like astro.com. And you can also use an astrology app. Like I really like the app Time Passages. And you put in your birth date, time, and location. And most apps and websites will pull up your chart automatically in Placidus, like we talked about earlier, because that's the most common way. But if you did want to change it to whole sign, usually there's a drop down menu that you can choose and it'll say whole sign. So you can change it to that. And it's super important for you to have an accurate birth time when you're pulling up your chart. And this is because the rising sign represents, it's the exact degree and sign that was on the eastern horizon at the time you were born. And the Earth's rotation causes 1 degree of the zodiac to rise above the eastern horizon about every 4 minutes. So it's super important. That's why every astrology girly is like, what is your birth time? Because even just a few minutes different, if you, let's say, if you're like Ashlee, if you're a later degree rising, that could bump you into the next sign. Or for me, I'm a 0 degrees Aries rising. So if it was just a few minutes earlier, it would say that I'm a Pisces rising, and that would completely change everything. So super important for you to have your accurate birth time when you're pulling up charts, and don't play around with that because you could get a whole chart pulled up that doesn't resonate with you. And I've definitely worked with people who they had their birth time incorrect at first and they just didn't resonate with their chart at all. And then once we got their accurate birth time, it was like, well, of course, it's because you're actually a Scorpio rising. Like you thought you were a Sagittarius rising. Like those are 2 totally different signs. So when you put in your birth time, make sure it's super accurate. And that is like the hill that I will die on. You have to have an accurate birth time.
Call the hospital you were born at. They might have a record if you don't know.
Hot tip. That's such a good hot tip. And so once you have your chart pulled up, your rising sign is going to be on the left-hand side. It's at the axis because it's like your chart is like a cross. And so you'll see on the left-hand side where your rising sign is, and it'll tell you the degree and the sign that it's in. And the rising sign represents your first house. So it's always going to be your first house. We talked about the analogies of what the rising sign represents. The first house also represents your physical body, your health, and the experiences of your early childhood. And it reflects your approach to life, your perspective on the world, the energy you bring to new beginnings, because it's the first house. It's the start of a new cycle. And your rising shapes you as an individual. So Ashlee, how about we talk about our rising signs so that people can get to know us a little bit better?
Okay. Should I go first or do you want to go first?
I think I'm an Aries rising. Maybe I should go first because because part of Aries rising is that it's the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, and so I have a natural urge to lead. I don't wait around for life to come to me. I tend to meet it with full force, and I'm not afraid to take the first step. So with me being an Aries rising, that's a fire sign, and people often see me as bold and pioneering, not afraid to take the leap. And we actually recently learned that Beyonce is an Aries rising.
Mind blown.
I know. That changed everything for everyone. She's a Virgo queen, but she's an Aries rising. And when I learned this, it made so much sense to me because I've always connected to the persona that she puts out in the world. And it's, because it's fiery and she's a go-getter and she's not afraid to take the first leap. And her song on Lemonade, Freedom, with Kendrick Lamar, that is a perfect anthem for an Aries rising. It basically, when I heard that song, I was like, this is an Aries rising song. And so for me, I, as an Aries rising, have kind of a restless energy that craves motion. And I love a challenge and new beginnings. And I am headstrong. I'm fiercely independent. And once I make my mind up, I am not easily swayed. And so whether it's a physical challenge, a new idea, or uncharted emotional territory, I love being first and setting the pace and pushing myself to see how far I can go. Because for me, there's just a fire in me that refuses to dim.
Love it. Should I talk about Libra rising? Then we'll go into the sun.
Yes, I want to hear all about you now because what I love about your rising sign is that it's opposite me. We have opposite rising signs. So let's talk about you.
Yes. We're so opposite. So Libra risings, like Kate is so connected to like everything with the Aries rising. For me, a Libra rising, I kind of see everything in reverse. And the reason why I see everything in reverse is so I can have a really good, I can have all the data so I can make a judgment, being able to see all sides.
Mhm.
But a Libra rising is a sign that cares a lot about other people and partnerships and balance. So, since I'm a Libra rising, I look very approachable and sweet. My appearance is meant for people to come up to me and talk to me because I am all about partnerships and I need to create a gentle space for people to talk to me. So like whenever I'm at the store at Michael's, people are always coming up to me asking me for help, even though it's pretty obvious I don't work there. I'm wearing like a t-shirt and my hair's a mess, but people will ask for my help because they're like, "Oh, she's going to be nice to me if I ask her. She's not going to laugh at me. She'll just like show me where the beads are. That's all." But also on the other end, a lot of people will try and like come over to me and help me because like even if I don't need help, they just feel like I might need help. Some
Mhm.
people might see me as like a little damsel in distress, like, "Oh, she looks like she's about to cry. What's wrong, little girl?" Like I get
Oh,
that a lot.
mm.
I feel this like instinctive desire to create harmony everywhere I am around me. Like when I walk into a room, I'll kind of like naturally sense the energy. Like, is the room really happy? Okay, I'll be happy, but I'll also be quiet. Like, I'll give a little balance to it. Or if the room is like serious, I can't help myself. I start cracking jokes because it's like the vibe in me just needs to create a balance and like a really like happy room. So even if I'm feeling like a hot mess, as a Libra risings will not like show it, we're almost gonna like put our own feelings aside around other people because we're more set up to be graceful and diplomatic, especially at first when we're trying to be polite. And we usually have like a cutesy look to us. We have like this like longer nose. We have like this little bow lip. We just have like a little, not, I don't want to say like a little kid, just like a little bit of a delicate look to us. We are ruled by Venus.
Yes. And see, I love that we balance each other out in that way because you're so sweet and friendly and people want to like they feel welcome to come up and approach you. And for me, I'm moving so fast. I'm like people can't even catch me sometimes, you know. I look like I'm about to go into battle a lot of the time. So people tend to not approach me as much only because I'm so bold and moving forward. And so I love hanging out with Libra risings because they balance me, they slow me down, they remind me that life can be peaceful, life can be very beautiful, and you don't always have to be running headfirst into battle. So I love that about you, and that's been a really fun aspect of our friendship is getting to be around such a sweet, caring Libra rising.
Aw. Well, I love being around an Aries rising because I'm in La La Land. I'm just like, do, 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 do. I need someone who's going to like push me a little. Like, if I'm feeling a certain way and I can't make a decision, Kate will be like, one, two, three. Like, I just move with her and it creates like this awesome like balance, which I love between us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Well, now we got to talk about something we have in common, which is we are both Sagittarius sun.
Yep.
So let's both talk about like our take on that. So I'm a Sagittarius sun. I'm born on the first day of Sagittarius season, so I'm a very early degree Sagittarius. And so that means that at my core, I'm always chasing the next adventure and I'm naturally optimistic and I love to learn and to teach. And I have a real love for life that radiates through everything I do. And my energy tends to come across as warm. Sagittarius is a fire sign, enthusiastic, and genuinely joyful. And I think the song Perfect Day by Hoku is a song that perfectly describes my core Sagittarius energy. You know, you wake up as a Sagittarius and every day can be a perfect day, you know? And I'm like kind of like a upbeat, happy-go-lucky kind of vibe. I love to laugh. I don't tend to get bogged down by the tiny details of things, and I like to keep my eye on the horizon, on the bigger picture, because Sagittarius is represented by the archer. So you can kind of think of that as like always kind of looking out on the horizon at your next adventure and what's the next thing you're going to learn. And also with Sagittarius, it's the sign of like faraway places and other worlds. And so I have a real openness and acceptance of all walks of life. And I always believe that everyone has something to teach me. And I am really fascinated by the variety of human experience. And so as a Sagittarius sun, it makes me able to connect with all kinds of people. And the thing about Sagittarius, though, is that I can be a little restless because I crave freedom and movement. So my Aries rising combined with my Sagittarius sun makes me very wanting to always do something. And it can kind of sometimes make me seem a little over the top or impulsive. But with Sagittarius, like being spontaneous is part of the magic. So I'm really somebody who thrives when I'm on the go, when I'm active, when I'm switching things up. Sagittarius is a mutable sign, which means it closes the season and there's a lot of change in the air. So I'm flexible, I'm ready to pivot. And I feel like one of my phrases that I always think about for me is that I can't be tamed. And I'm a free spirit all the way.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, thanks.
You're full of fire, and I could definitely feel that with your Aries rising. And your sun is in the eighth house, right? So you're
Yes.
big and transformative, which I love.
Yes. It adds a little depth to my Sagittarius placement. And it's why I love astrology, because eighth house is going deep into topics like spirituality and astrology.
Very cool.
Yeah, but let's talk
Um,
about you and your take on Sagittarius.
I think you said it so perfectly, but I'll add a little bit more of my own side. So I'm a Sagittarius sun, very similar to Kate. However, my sun is a little bit more hidden. It's in the third house, so you're not going to see the brightest parts of me right away. The first impression that I give to people is very different than like the bright side of me,
Mhm.
which astrology is helped me come to terms with that, where I know when I first meet someone I'm going to come off as a little bit more shy and indecisive, and you have to kind of get to know me on a routine basis, third house sun, to really see the brightest sides of me. But overall I'm very optimistic like Kate. I'm very independent, even though I'm a Libra rising and partnerships are so important to me. At the same time, there's a duality to it, the Sagittarius sun. Like, I love the partnerships, but then I love to just go off and do my own thing. And since it's in the third house, it's very much all about reading and information. Like, I love information in general. I love to learn, but not necessarily with school, because typical Sagittarius structure sucks. Like waking up at 7:30 every morning and having to sit in 12 classes, that always didn't work out well for me, and I would start being a Sagittarius and daydreaming away. But when it's on my own terms, I just want to learn all the time. Like, I love to read. When I was a kid, I always carried like a bag of books around me. And now as an adult, I'm always reading at least 3 books at a time. I have my morning book that I can only read in the morning. I have my night book, which are a little more scary, that I can only read at night. And then I always have like an astrology book, or like a spiritual esoteric book that I'm always reading also. So there's always like that three, and I think that's very Sagittarius. I love chatting with people, especially like when we're doing deep dives and analysis, because we always like to uncover the philosophical. And that also adds on to why I didn't feel like a Sagittarius growing up, because it's always into like philosophies. And for me, I was just not into religion. I was always in Hebrew school learning like the Torah or whatever. And it didn't vibe with me. But I realized the true Sagittarius doesn't want that structure. They want to go off and find the Torah or whatever religious thing they're doing on their own. And
Mhm.
that's when I really leaned into spirituality and auras and astrology and all that good stuff, which really lit up my sun. But like I said, you're not going to see it upon first meeting me. You're going to see it after seeing me a few times. That's a third house, the routine. Um, so
Oh,
yeah, I think that's the core of my sun.
I love that so much. And that makes so much sense with it being in the third house. And I think that's so cute that you have 3 books. Like that's such a third house Sagittarius thing to have multiple books, like multiple subjects, like, and like you're saying, you get to choose your own adventure when you're a Sagittarius.
Ooh.
So like you grew up in a religious environment, and because it was kind of told to you like this is what you have to learn, like that is not fun for a Sagittarius. Sagittarius has to look on the horizon and say, well, what do I want to learn? And that's exactly what you did over your lifetime, is you got to grow and evolve through reading things that are lighting you up inside and taking you to a new faraway place that's different from what you grew up in.
Totally. And if I couldn't do that, I would take myself into a faraway place by daydreaming or not paying attention in class. I would be
Yeah.
thinking about like what's going to happen this weekend, and like it's not. It kind of sucks because I love learning, but
Mhm.
sitting in that classroom and like being told when the bell rings you got to move did not work for me. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people relate to that. Actually, it's not just
Yes,
me.
I love that you brought up daydreaming, because that was such a thing for me too. School was so not the place for me to either, because it was so structured, like you're saying. And those daydreams are what carried me through. And then once I got to college and then post college, like that was when for me the real learning started. And that sounds like a lot of people I think could relate to that if they're a Sagittarius sun, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, now let's finally talk about each of our moon signs. So, how about you go first for this one?
Okay. So my moon is in Libra. Just like I'm a Libra rising, my moon is in Libra. So at the very moment I was born, at the sky horizon on the eastern side, as Libra was rising off into space, so was my moon energy. And people in astrology would call me a double Libra, which was wild to me when I found out because I always thought I was just plain Sagittarius, but in reality, I am major Libra. So what that means is the way I come off, this sweeter side of me, this I just love relationships and the people around me, is actually really, really important to the core of my happiness. The way I look, actually, even though there's so many different parts of me, you can actually look at the way I look and act, and that really is who I am on a deep level. My own emotional well being is strongly tied to balance and beauty and connection and harmony. I have this deep emotional need for peace in relationships. If I feel like someone is upset at me or mad at me, it really will strike me down. And the other thing about me being a Libra moon and right in like the most visible part of me is that for one, it really helps my memory. It helps me like move around a lot and really remember how people were at certain times. And it also makes me always like be in a relationship. Like I think I was single once for like a year, but other than that, since I was 15, I was always in a relationship because it was so important to me to always have that really close partner that's always connected to me. My one on one relationships are so important, especially the romantic ones. And
Mhm.
also, Libra is all about aesthetics and beauty. So it's very important to me to always have beauty around me. Like I bedazzle everything. My home has to like really speak to who I am, or else I feel like kind of bummed out. But in
Mhm.
reality, all I want is for things around me to sparkle.
Oh, well, you can tell that from your background right now. Your house is
Oh yeah.
so beautifully decorated. I love the color on your walls, and the fact that you bedazzle everything. That is so Libra. That makes so much sense.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. Oh, oh my gosh, what a beautiful moon sign, Libra. And like you're saying, you knew you were a Sagittarius, but when you got deeper into your chart, all that Libra energy, it just probably blew your mind and made so much sense to you once you figured that out.
Definitely. I used to almost see Libras and think like almost exposed in a way because
Mhm.
a Libra sun, their brightest parts of them are showing who I am deep inside. So when
Mhm.
I would see them, I would think, oh, like, what is this? In a way, it could almost be triggering because it's like that song, Strumming My Pain with Your Finger, that song, the Fugees,
Yes.
Regina Fleck. It kind of almost feels like that when I would see a Libra sun. But then when I realized that that is who I am at the core and what I look like, it just explained everything. But like we said at the beginning, your sun, moon, and rising is still just this percentage of your entire energetic signature. But just knowing that information is so helpful. And I also want to share that I get so much of my artistic inspiration from Kate. When we hung out, she bedazzled her boots, and I think about those daily, those glittery boots.
Oh, you are so sweet. Oh my gosh. I inspired a Libra rising and moon. That's the best compliment I could ever receive.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
I mean
Oh,
it.
well, that's part of our dynamic that I love so much is that we both really appreciate sparkly things and beauty, and we bring that sparkle out in each other. So I just love that part of our friendship.
Yes, and we need to talk about your air moon because you have an air moon also, but yours is way cooler than your
Oh,
moon than like you
oh,
have the
come
cool
on.
girl
Well,
moon. Like seriously.
well, thank you. But yes, so we talked about how I'm a Sagittarius sun and I'm an Aries rising, so those are both fire signs. And then my moon is an air moon. It's Aquarius. So being an Aquarius moon, when I learned this, it really made me feel seen because you know, I have double fire, so I'm warm, I'm outgoing. I like to, spread joy and warmth. But Aquarius moon is kind of, we'll say it can be a little cold at times in the sense that it's like Aquarius is, think of when Aquarius season happens. It's in the winter, and emotionally as an Aquarius moon, I can feel kind of like an alien sometimes because Aquarius rules aliens and galaxies far away. And so when I learned I was an Aquarius moon, it made so much sense because while I'm friendly and I'm charming, sometimes I might come across as a little distant or even impersonal at times because I'm able to detach emotionally from people and situations almost at will. And this can be really helpful for me at times, like when I feel I'm really drawn to a cause or a project. That is when I'm able to really channel my Aquarius energy because Aquarius also rules over communities and friendships. So without community and friendships, I can feel a little frustrated or restless or alone. So I have to really lean into the friendship and community aspect of Aquarius to feed me emotionally. And as an Aquarius moon, my mind works quickly and I tend to analyze my feelings before I fully feel them. So sometimes my nervous system gets overwhelmed with emotional energy because if an emotion hits me, I tend to want to break it down and analyze what's happening instead of just letting the feelings flow. So that's how that's kind of manifested for me. Also, like I said, friendships and community are super important to me. I love being part of a group. I love a group chat. Group chats are so Aquarius because you're in a group and you're with a bunch of people, but then you're also detached from them a little bit because they're not in front of you. You can kind of like control you can really analyze how you're going to interact in the group chat. So I
You
love a
could
group
poof and
chat.
be gone at any point.
Yes, you can just poof, disappear at any time. Put the phone down and you're gone. And so with Aquarius moon, my independence is really important to me. My freedom is really important. And I'm also really creative and inventive. Like Aquarius is kind of a sign of the innovator. And so, like Ashlee mentioned, my boots, like I love to, add a little something quirky and unique to already existing things. Do things that are a little unconventional, and I am really interested in topics like that emotionally fuel me, like politics and studying human behavior through psychology, and astrology. Astrology is so Aquarian. So that really, the study of astrology fuels me emotionally.
I love that. And do you ever feel like you intellectualize your feelings? I know you said you could be detached from them, but do you feel like you like really think them through?
Definitely, definitely. And how that's manifested for me is, like when I go to like therapy, therapy is great for me because I'm able to use my Aquarius moon to break everything down, and I intellectualize my feelings by just thinking about them, and and then usually maybe a few days or weeks later, that's when things will fully hit me. Like that's when I fully feel it, is after I've spent a few days or weeks talking, like intellectualizing everything, breaking it down. So my feelings are kind of like if I had a Cancer moon, I would be great at just feeling my feelings. But because I have an Aquarius moon, I'm a little more detached, and I could write a book about my feelings before I felt them in my body.
That is so wild. In a way, I'm a little jealous because I feel things rather quickly with a cardinal sign moon. But I
Mhm.
love that you brought up Cancer because I was thinking that when you were talking about how you think about them first, because a Cancer moon will feel everything immediately and bring an artistic spin to it and this beautiful, big, big waves of emotion. When an Aquarius moon will be like, I feel a little upset. And then they just walk away and you're like, what was that? How come they didn't like talk about it or argue with me? Why are they off playing baseball when like they're upset? Like I don't get it. But it's a process. And it's also a great way to understand like your partner. Like let's say my daughter's an Aquarius moon. Sometimes she'll come up to me and be like, I'm sad. And then she'll go off and play. And I'm like, she's not sad. She's not acting sad. Like, what's going on? But in reality, she's processing it on like a smart level before feeling it. And I wish I could do that, Kate. Like I love
Oh.
hanging out with you because I could take some of that.
Well, thank you. I mean, I that's the thing about Aquarius moon, is it's a little, it's different from many other moon signs, and and in this crazy world we live in, it does serve me well a lot of the time to, be able to just, like your daughter does, it's like I'm sad, and then I go work on something else. But it definitely, part of the growth of Aquarius is to reach out for connection in the community to heal that, because you can be detached with your emotions, but the best thing for an Aquarius moon is to find their tribe, find their community, like who are the people that really will support you, and the people that will ask you questions like, well, how are you really feeling? And having friends like that, and people in your life that support you that way, it really means everything to an Aquarius moon. So definitely check on your Aquarius moon friends and ask them how they're doing, and just maybe ask them a couple times and see how the question evolves over time.
And also, this is a
But
little bit more advanced, but since we went a little deep into Aquarius, if you look into your own chart and you see where Aquarius is in your chart, that's a part of your life where you disconnect a little bit. Like, I
mhm.
have my Aquarius in the fifth house. So when I do art or creative things, I am pieced out. Like, I don't talk to anyone. Like, I'm just not feeling anything. I'm doing it. And then later, I process, like, how much it meant to me. So it's kind of
Yes.
wild that, like, with my own emotions, like, I feel them so strongly. But when I'm doing, like, artsy stuff, I can learn to put my feelings aside for a minute, which kind of just, like, made things click that that's how you, Kate, or someone with an Aquarius moon is, like, kind of all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the beauty of astrology, is that you can, and that's what we hope to do on this podcast, is really just show you where things are in your chart and how you can use that for personal growth, and how you can really evolve through knowing that information. And now that we talked about our sun, moon, and rising, how can people connect with you for a reading?
So I have an Instagram. My name is Sparkly Eyeshadow. You can DM me on there to set up a reading. And I also have an Etsy shop where you can just click on there, click order, and I will contact you so quickly. I offer written readings, where you could just sit back and just check your email and I'll let you know what's going on. Or you can schedule a video chat just like this where you're with me and we will talk all about your chart. You can come to me with like crazy specific questions like, when will I get married? Will I have a baby? Like all this stuff. And we will deep dive into it. Or I also offer synastry readings where we could talk about how you and the energy of your partner, whether it's a romantic, a platonic, a mother, a father, a baby, a kid, and we'll talk about how your energy flows together. Um, I'm also going to soon start offering more niche readings where I could talk about with you what went wrong in a relationship and help you maybe heal from that relationship. And also readings on how you can increase your personal power. So lots of cool stuff coming. Check out my Etsy shop and contact me if you'd like to chat with me about your chart.
I love that. And for readings with me, you can go to my website. It's www.katehughes.biz, B-I-Z. And my astrology business name is called Seeing Stars with Kate. And so you can also find me on Instagram at seeingstars_Kate. And I offer birth chart readings and transit readings, and I specialize in asteroid readings, like we talked about earlier in the episode. So, what I do is I send you a questionnaire about your life, people that are important to you, places you've lived, hobbies you have. And I take that information and I go through your chart and I find things that resonate with you personally. And so it's a really fun way to have a more personalized experience when you get an astrology reading. So you can visit my website anytime to book one of those. And we'll
I
have the
think I'll be
links.
booking an asteroid reading with you.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Oh my gosh. I would love that. And we will have the links to book with us in the description of this video and the podcast episode, so you can click on those links to connect with us.
Yay. So that was so much fun, and we hope that you enjoyed learning about how Planetary Princesses came to be, about me and Kate, and what is a sun, moon, and rising, and a little bit more about our sun, moon, and risings, and how to find this information in your chart. So we'd love to get to know you better. We want you to comment with your sun, moon, and rising so we could get all the tea about you.
Yes, and if you loved this journey through the cosmos, be sure to share the magic. Send this episode to a fellow stargazer, and don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss your next royal invitation to the stars. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are the Planetary Princesses, and don't forget, your invitation to the cosmos is always open. Until next time, cosmic queens and kings.
Bye.
Bye.